aggressive, combative, barbaric at times, controversial. That was truly a delectable medley of footballing splendour. I find the beauty in games like that. I often think that people don't necessarily appreciate the glory of a 0-0, a pulsating, edgy, aggressive, spiteful game of football in the London night, under the floodlights, in the pouring rain. It gets me going. I truly love it. And I want to start this review by saying to Arsenal fans, tranquilo, calm down. It's a good point. I don't think that Arsenal at all should be preoccupied or upset by the fact that you dropped some points. Of course, 3 points would have been better. But over the course of the season, this is a good point. You are playing against a brilliant Newcastle team. Definitely the most organised team in the Premier League. They are a genuine threat. So the fact that you have taken a point against them, yeah, it's not ideal. But overall, it's a decent point. I really don't think there is a need to panic. If results to come are impacted by this one, if you don't beat Tottenham, if you don't beat Manchester United, if there is a shock in the cup, then we can talk. But for now, I think this fixture and this result should be seen as a decent enough point. That club that you face today, they don't concede goals. Yes, Arsenal are free scoring. They are effervescent in attack. But Newcastle don't concede goals. They are pushing 9 hours since they last conceded a goal. 9 hours. So a 0-0 draw at home, yes, I get it. It's not ideal. But I don't really understand why Arsenal fans feel so flat. My cousin, the cabbie, he's an Arsenal season ticket holder. He's called me on the way home. Gutted. Furious with Newcastle, furious with the style of play, and really upset that they didn't get the victory. Talking about that and Nketiah chance. Yeah, I mean, on some level, there is a semblance of truth in what he's saying. But overall, I think the point is fine. Like, it's only the third time this season that Arsenal haven't taken maximum points from a fixture. 3 occasions out of 17 that you haven't taken maximum points. First time this season that you haven't taken maximum points at home. There's always going to be a blip. It's always going to come. And it's come against the team that sit third in the league. It's come against a really solid enterprise. So I really don't understand quite why there is this element of feeling so flat. You could have taken maximum points, but it didn't go your way. And assuming that you bounce back against Tottenham, which I anticipate you doing, I think you'll be 2-0 up at half-time against them. I think that this will be looked on at some point as a decent point. Not just a point. I think it will be looked on as a decent point. You really can see why Newcastle have the best defensive record in the Premier League. Arsenal are brilliant. They're a brilliant side. And Newcastle certainly realised that they were playing against, and sometimes play-acting against, a brilliant side. So they accommodated, they changed their system, and they were a defensive unit. They went to the Emirates for a point, and they did so because Arsenal was such a slick attacking team that there's only certain ways that you can play. You cannot go to the Emirates and play an expansive open game because Arsenal will destroy you. Arsenal will absolutely batter you if you turn up and try and play against them in a most footballing, total football way. So you have to do what works for you. Arsenal are truly brilliant, and the only way that you can stop them is if you create a fight, a feisty, intense, ill-tempered game, laced with the dark arts of the game. And I loved it because I find those dark arts so inspiring. The best Chelsea teams, in fact, not Chelsea, the best teams ever have all had an edge. The best players ever have all had an edge. Have you heard former pros talk about Dennis Bergkamp? When mere mortals like us talk about Dennis Bergkamp, we only see the glorious footballer, the sumptuous footballer, the exquisite touch. Anyone that plays against him will tell you how dirty he was, how filthy he was, what a hard man he was, the way that he would use the dark arts of the game to his benefit. And I have no issue with that. Yes, of course, I find the beauty in Roberto Carlos scoring one of the most glorious goals against Tenerife that you will ever see. But I also find the beauty in Ashley Cole clearing the ball off the line. He is the best clearer off a liner ever. I find the beauty in a 50-50 challenge. I find the beauty in time wasting where necessary. And that is what we got from Newcastle today. They came to the Emirates to play like Atletico Madrid, and they got their point. And fair play to them. They don't have a responsibility to entertain anyone. They simply have a responsibility to accrue as many points as possible. And to their fans, their balmy fans who turned up en masse and made a racket in the Emirates, they have entertained them because success in itself is entertaining. Winning, and today they won. They wanted a point, they got a point. Winning in itself is entertaining. So the fact that Eddie Howe has set his team up like that, I don't think that anyone should be moralistic about it. People often say that, you have a right to play, you have a responsibility to play a particular way. I totally and utterly disagree. Eddie Howe has to do what's right for his team, for his club, and for his fans, and he got it so spot on. You can tell how well he did when he went over to Atletico Madrid during his sabbatical to improve. He realised when he was at Bournemouth that there were deficiencies in his game. He realised that he needed to improve on certain things. And setting up a defence is something that he didn't do well enough during his time at Bournemouth. So he acknowledged the flaw in his character and he went over to Atletico Madrid to learn from the master of the defensive unit, Diego Simeone. And he studied Diego Simeone. And you could see quite how well he learned from Diego Simeone. Full credit to Eddie Howe. It really is impressive. For Arsenal, though, start with the negativity. It's fine. You've extended your lead at the top to 8 points. And look, City are playing Chelsea. So, you do know. Okay, they take maximum points there. But I'm trying to find a positive view. There will be other tough games for Man City. I assure you of that. But look, if tonight reinforced anything, it's only that Arsenal are excellent. It's only that Arsenal are capable of winning the league. And on a negative, it's not about the game. The only negative that I saw from Arsenal today, it was the lack of options up front. It was the lack of sparkle and dazzle up front. The lack of Hollywood. They don't have enough. And when it wasn't working for them because of the brilliant setup from Newcastle, because of the brilliant setup from Eddie Howe, it wasn't working. And I think that Mikel Arteta didn't have enough in his armoury to reach for. When I look down that Arsenal bench, where are they meant to go? Fabio Vieira? It's not particularly inspiring. I think they need other options in attack. But apart from that, I think they are absolutely fine. Emile Smith-Rowe, when he's back, he'll help turn the screw, won't he, where necessary? But I could see that Mikel Arteta was getting frustrated, and I think that frustration was born out of the fact that he knew that Arsenal's wingers weren't getting much change out of this Newcastle team. Trippier was exceptional against Martinelli, and down the other side, Saka had the beating of Burn, and he demonstrated that in the first 5-6 minutes, didn't he? After that, Eddie Howe got it spot on again. Tactical brilliance from Eddie Howe, because he knew that Saka had the beating of Burn, so they doubled up. Bruno Guimaraes doing his fair share of defending. So impressive from him. And at times, they were 3 players on Bukayo Saka. Newcastle ran themselves into the ground for their point, and therefore they deserved their point. So look, it wasn't pretty, but Newcastle have no other option. Because if you go to Arsenal and try and compete and try and have a spectacle game of football, you'll lose 5-0. So you do what you've got to do. And Eddie Howe's played the cards that he's been dealt and he's secured his point, and fair play to him. Overall, it's not a bad night for Arsenal. Like I said, there's one blip, and that is the strength in the bench. The only other thing I would say is I feel like Mikel Arteta needs to keep his head a bit. I think that he lost it arguing with Eddie Howe over that penalty, and I think it was the correct decision that it wasn't awarded. So I really do think that he needs to keep switched on, because if he is going to be a hothead, it will cost his team at some point and cost him at some point. We are only in January. His team aren't even halfway through the season. The tension hasn't actually started yet. So he needs to just keep a lid on it, but I'm sure he'll learn from that explosion and be fine. Overall, though, it's a good point for both teams. Everyone's got to calm down a little bit. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give it a like. Please click subscribe. I would love to welcome you into this community. See you in a bit.